In this first session, we're going to look at nuts and bolts stuff, more timing and more spacing. Though some of the things relate to 2D, these principles still relate to every kind of animation. After all, it really is all in the timing and in the spacing. We'll have to do the classical animation thing just for a bit more on our numbering system. Are you a member of KISS? K-I-S-S? You know this? Keep it simple. That's it. Keep it simple. Stupid. And use simple numerical sequences, for God's sake. The trouble with this numbering thing here that Warner's used, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and they used this system because they were mostly on animating on 2 exposures. So if you need ones, say I'm talking normally, a normal action, I can do 2 exposures every drawing, normally on 2s. And then I want to go like that. I can try to do it on 2s, spacing the thing and leaving a big gap in the middle, but it's better if I just add 1s. So you'd have to add in, say it was here, you call them 2A, 3A, 4A, or 5.5, whatever you want to do. It gets mucky. And the dial, which I've used, in the exposure sheet, which is either dialogue or the dial numbers that are in the camera, like in the computer, don't use this method. Use what Milt did. If he's animating on 2s, he would use the dial numbers. 1, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13, 15, 17, 19, 21, 23, 25. Then, if you've got to drop in some 1 exposure, some 1s, you just put them in here like that. And that means your stuff on any other column, your B drawings, so you've got a hold here, you come in at 9B, and that could be 10, 11 if there was a, see what I mean? If you do a hold, you come back in on 25B. See what I mean? It all becomes, it's the same as the dial number, or the number in the camera. It means you can make changes easily, because you're thinking just 1 to 9. Well, I mean 1 to 10, right? Milt said he thought he had invented this system. I don't think he did. I think it's just the intelligent guys at Disney's just did that. And he would say that if I see a bunch of drawings on my desk that are odd numbers, I know I'm on 2s. And if I see any even numbers, I know I'm on 1s. So he developed this later, or he used it later anyway. The other thing is, the only time you would circle a drawing would be if we go back to 1, and we're using drawing 1 again. Say it's a cycle or something, or for some reason we're using 1, 3, 4. Let's make that a 2 in there, it makes it simpler. See what I mean? And that says to the cameraman, whoops, start back at number 1, because it's a reuse. Okay? The only time you would also put a number ahead of, like B1, would be on a held cell, which we would put H1 and hold it. Say it was a table in front of, there's Daffy Duck. There's a table here in front of him, overlapping him, and that would be H1. Or overlay 1. If there's a battle about where do you use, wait a minute, 1s or 2s? Okay? Now, for fast actions, somebody running, I'm running on 1s, right? On computer, you have all your stuff on 1s. You're lucky. But with us, if we can do somebody talking like this, there's no reason to put it on ones, because there's not much overlap. But it's when it does something broad like that, you need ones. A ballet dancer, anything like that, that's ones. But me just standing here yammering is twos. There's no reason to do twice as much work. Now, I want to refute a genius here, who I think is wonderful, but in this case is wrong. There's a battle that goes on and on and on. Here's Frank Thomas says, he says, a fast action on twos had more sparkle and spirit than the same action with in-betweens, which tended to make the timing too even and remove the vitality. I think why he says that, in their experience, is that you animate a thing on twos, and then you just have somebody put in the in-between drawings on ones, right? And then it's mushy. But if you're animating on ones, which is what I do, it's always better on ones. Ken Harris, who spent his life on twos mostly, we used to put in ones later, he would say, oh God, it's always better on ones. So I think the saying that twos is better is an economic answer to an artistic question. It's always better on ones, always. With one exception, and I used to do this stuff, I would have it traced and painted on ones, and then I'd take out, we'd shoot it in color, using the ones as we'd done it, and then we'd take the drawings out, every other drawing out, or every other cell painted out, and shoot the same action again on twos, and it was never better. Except once, and I had this old witch taking out a stethoscope, and I cannot figure out why, and nobody else could. It was funnier with every other drawing out. It was funnier on twos. I don't know why. That's the only case. Now, Art Babbitt, Frank Thomas, and all those guys say, twos sparkle, because it costs so much more to do twice the amount of work, and twice the amount of work for every department. Walt Disney apparently is one of the first to say, do it on twos, because he's going bankrupt. So trace and paint, camera, everybody all the way down the line is doing twice as much work to get this very smooth effect. So they all brainwash themselves, I think, into saying, oh, it's sparkly and great on twos. But I didn't find it to be the case, except for this one exception. So the battle of the ones and twos is kind of rubbish. I think it's ones and twos, not ones or twos. It's both. You use ones for fast actions, twos for normal actions. And I would say that doing it on ones is twice the work, but it's actually 3 times the effect. Because you want to grab the audience by the throat and make them look. And that Roger Rabbit opening, it's all on ones practically. Not when he's counting on his fingers, I don't think, when he's talking. Even a lot of that with the ears is on ones. You want to make people look, it's going to be better on ones. There is this one thing where you have to pan with if the character, say it's a lion's head going up like this, and if you're panning the background on ones and the lion's head is on twos, there's going to be a chatter. Here, the background is panning past on ones, but the man's on twos, so he jitters. Here the background is panning past on twos, and the man's also on twos, so it sort of works. Now both the background pan and the man are on ones, and it works, no jitter. There's a couple of odd things about spacing. We're going to... This is the ground, and there's a telephone pole down here. and a telephone pole here. And we're going to do a dotted line. Okay, we're going to draw the passing position, the in-between position of the telephone pole, right? Can I have an unsuspecting volunteer who doesn't know this trick, but who would know where to put the drawing? Where would you put the middle? Volunteer? Anybody? Great, great. Just put it where you think it is. Obviously, it's going to be down. Good, and wherever you like, wherever you like. Good, very intelligent. That's what I was hoping you would do. That's a very intelligent decision. However, in actuality, the way to figure it out, which is what you're going to blow my game here. There's where she is. Isn't that interesting? So it's something to bear in mind in spacing. So if a character at Warner's, when they're running the coyote up at you, you would bear that in mind. Now, however, you're both right in the sense that what they found was that's technically correct, but it's actually rather better to cheat it very slightly forward each time. Looks better. Don't ask me why. So you would do this all the way up. You would, roll. Find the one in the middle, and just push it forward a little bit. Find the one in the middle. And push it forward. It wouldn't be there. Oh my God, where am I? It would actually be a little better to do it there. Let's apply the same thing to a running figure. Treat the head as an oval and find the midpoint. Animate the head with the same system and add the body. We all know what this feels like. When something is coming at you, the images are clustered in the distance, and they separate as they come towards you. When things are going around a corner, they appear to cluster at the edges, and they separate in the center. Animators usually think of arcs kind of in a flat, two-dimensional way, but arcs are just as often like this. The images clustering at the edges, separating in the middle, clustering at the edges again, separating in the middle, and clustering at the edges again. Let's take a ball revolving around a central point. We'll show the top view and the side view at the same time. Looking at the top view, the ball is evenly spaced as it travels around. But when we look at the same thing from the side view, it's clustered at the edges and separated in the middle. Some of the balls at the edges sit right on top of each other. It appears to travel fast around the front and clusters at the edges. There's a principle here. If you were to turn a face from here, and he's going to turn to the front here, your passing position or breakdown, or it's better to throw the thing off, displace the in-between drawing. Whoops, which would be sort of there. Display, I'll just call it the in-between. See what I mean? Otherwise, it's going to look just like you got a circle here, and the features are just going to go around a globe, like they're just moving around the front of a plexiglass globe. So what you want to do is just to get that. Here's what it looks like if we don't displace the in-between position. Dull, because there's not much volume. Now let's displace the middle position. It gives some volume. Let's go further and displace and drop the middle position. We get even more volume. Here's the classic in-betweener's mistake. You've got a hammer coming here and a nail there. And it's going to, he's going to hit the nail wrongly. So the nail bends. Our hammer is going to hit the nail badly and bend it like this. Here's our mid position. Bam! But our dozy helper does this. I mean, it's funny, but that happened all the way through the rabbit. I couldn't believe you get it. They're just putting senselessly putting drawings. They're robot people. Here we go again. Our slumbering in-betweener strikes again. Obviously, it's this. We're in-betweening forms, not lines. The thinking in-betweener in-betweens the forms. The unthinking in-betweener just in-betweens lines. I need a volunteer just for a second. Let's get you again, since you were right before. This isn't a test. This is just a thing. Just a little thing which people don't notice, which is very useful. If you stand there, I guess, stand just like me.
Yeah.
With one, there you go. Lovely. And that's it. Just now relax. Look at that finger, and then turn your head and look at the next one. Excellent. You refocus, right? In any kind of a head turn, we naturally blink in the middle. We usually blink on a head turn. But if we're alert or frightened, we don't. Because there's a certain amount of squashing and stretching in life, animators for humor have tended to exaggerate squash and stretch and overuse it. At its best, it's hilariously funny. Even in realistic animation, it can be useful in a very reduced form. The top animators on Bambi found that even in the subtle movements of a deer, there is a very slight amount of squash and stretch. However, at its worst, you get this crude rubber duck sploopy effect. I try not to overuse it. The problem is you lose solidity. I'll show you how you can get all the flexibility and vitality that you will ever need without resorting to squishy cartoon effects. However, what animation does need is a change of shape, and one way of getting a change of shape is squashing and stretching. The question is, how much squash and stretch do we use, and when do we use it? It certainly works well for a cartoon. And for a bouncing ball. But I found out early on that we can get a very good result without it. I discovered this by just shooting a coin with good spacing. You can get a very good result, a very good bounce, using a rigid coin. Now, using squash and stretch, Ken Harris showed me a very interesting thing to increase change of shape by stretching out the contact position. Ken Harris said, look, you need to get another drawing in there to get an increased change of shape. Now, a lot of this will have to do with the timing, but try to get this. You can see what's happening. And then that. Try to get a contact if you're doing a stretchy thing, and try again when it's coming off to keep a contact as it goes up. Try to get a contact in here and try to keep the contact there. This extra contact position gives us more change of shape, but it will be a softer hit. Take it out and you get a harder hit. So it's the principle is like if the coyote is flying through the air and he's going to hit that wall and he's going to go splat. That's a desert wall, however he is. He's going to go thwack there. Let's say there's another drawing here, for sake of argument. Try to get a contact, maybe the nose, it's to try to get that it contacts again before you get the big change of shape. In animation, we need at least 5 drawings or positions to go across the screen or to jump out of it. For a stronger hit, we'll take out drawing number 6 and throw it away. For an even stronger hit, we'll take out drawing number 5 and throw it away, and do a new drawing number 5, contacting the cliff and stretched out to twice the length. And it's the same thing. He's got a frog. Let's turn this into a frog. He's got the frog like this. It would be much better to have the hands hit. You see what I mean? Frog's like this. Right? The frog then hits and squashes up, however he is down here, squashed. And then when he goes up again, get some green, have at least one of the hind legs contacting the ground. Stretch out the arms to make an early contact and keep it. And it's the same with a jump. If somebody's jumping, you want the foot there, you want to get that contact on the ground. Have at least one foot contact early and keep a contact. So it isn't bump, bump like that, unless you want to particularly do that. It's always much bump, bump. See what I mean? So have a contact. Always try to have contacts, extra contacts, so that you get a bigger change of shape. Everything starts to get in. Once we get the systems going, everything becomes change of shape. This has all been about spacing. Now let's get back to timing things. There was a thing known in Warner Brothers, certainly, Ben Washam's 12-frame yawn. And Ben Washam was the sort of charming animator for Chuck Jones. And he's a very good guy. And when he first came into animation, he was a good drawer, and he did this elaborate thing of a guy yawning. So he goes, you know, and Ben did 12 drawings. You know, shoot that on 12. I mean, that's 12 frames. So you get, and then shock horror. They then shot it on 2, so you get, so then Ben learned that the timing is that you do the timing first. How long does the yawn take? At least 2 seconds. And then you figure out where to put your drawings, and then the spacing, right? Here are the charts which indicate the spacing. Here it is again. The conclusion is it's all in the timing and the spacing. Beginner animators always put in far too much action in the short space of time. They do a walk, and they get the arms going like this, you know, instead of the arms doing bugger all. You know, they're just walking as a normal walk. You don't see much happening. So a beginner he's all over the place. And then the old guys, they're tired out, and they don't do enough. It's just like that, you know. So the whole problem in spacing like this is to get the right amount of action in the right amount of time, right? That's the problem, isn't it? And the way to do it is act it out. And I think, you know, I keep saying, let me write it. Use the video. It's saved animation. Test. Test and test again. Art Babbitt used to get madder than hell at me for using the video. Because he'd say, you're cheating. You're using that video as a crutch. He'd say, don't you think you think you're getting all the, you know, you're using that as a crutch. And I said, no, I'm just using it. I said, what's the difference between that and a pencil test? And he said, well, it's not a pencil test. I said, yes, it is. It's a video version. And he was, and I said, is it better to go into the cameraman at 6:30 at night when he's trying to go home and give him all your tests, and then send it into the lab and get it in at rushes the next morning and wait for the editor to get it cut in, and next noon you get to see your test and find it was wrong and you have a lot to change? Why not go to the video and shoot the thing in 10 minutes and make your changes? So that's what I did, and I use a video like crazy. And he said, well, you should be able to do it without. And I said, yeah, but then you're doing cliches, you're routining. And in fact, Art, as he wouldn't use a video much, and he would have somebody leap. In the end, he was having a great big 200-pound king leaping into the air, and he'd be going like this. He didn't mean slow motion. I said, better use the video. It's a pencil test machine. So, test. We've looked at more timing and spacing issues, at how far apart we make the drawings, whether they're in clusters or far apart, and when to use squash and stretch. We've looked at how we time those drawings, whether they're on ones or twos, and how much time you need to do an action. Time it out first. In the next session, we'll tackle walks. Walks are fascinating, and we'll find how to build different walks with weight, personality, and style.